And yeah, well, at a glance, Bruce is basically just a database which presents itself in a number of forms, including 3D. A question I was really asking about, like, how deeply we integrate with the external system that produces the data. So do we want that system to still exist and manage all this data and we just do the presentation for it? Or do we want to take over the holding that data and therefore implementing all the business logic and the data management interfaces that might be there? Because I anticipate someone feeds that data in somehow, right? So there would be other forms to fill, other views to look at, etc. So that depends how deeply we go into this. And it doesn't really raise a feasibility question. It's only a question of cost. How much effort will be required to either integrate with this or to replace it with different approach or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so I guess there's two ways to go. One, we contact a company like Lease Matrix and we say, hey, we want to feed your data into this app.
Yeah, that's one way, absolutely.
You know, and Lease Matrix, what they give you is they give you a bunch of templates to fill in, right? Right? These use templates. Now, this is not a big company. It's only like 2-3 guys, right? So it's not, you know, it seems to me that what happens is this data is inputted and it spits it out, right? So if it's just a basic service, there might be a way for us to just write this information into the app for you, Lawrence, and then just make it part of the 3D integration, and then just talk, you know, negotiate something with Lease Matrix and say, hey, this is what we want to do with you guys, and we'd like to use your templates and your, you know, your formulas because it's done already and it's fast. It's got some decent features and it, you know, it's pretty basic. The second way is for us just to make this ourselves, or make this for you, Lawrence, and make your own custom data input, you know, section, right? Your data input templates, and have it just feed into it, or do it right inside of the 3D app itself, right? And take it as part of this, you know, managing the entities and managing the relationships between the entities, and putting it all in here with because all the pieces are here already. They're actually here now, but we haven't built it, we haven't drilled down to build it like a lease map. So I guess the strategy question for you, Lawrence, is what do you think your management would be most receptive to, a custom built part of that, or maybe an existing app license with a data feed? It sounds to me like if you're not using Lease Matrix, or none of the offices have any kind of master licenses for these data templates, that they're going to be inputted from the individual offices. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, I think each office kind of warehouses their own, you know, data set, because I don't know how updated, you know, Lease Matrix keeps their information. You know, that would, if they are, you know, fairly good at updating their data, then that could be a way to go. You know, but right now, it would be ideal to have something that's kind of intuitive, and we could just link up, you know, a database or import a spreadsheet, and it would kind of auto-populate everything. Maybe in harmony with a Lease Matrix, I don't know. But as it stands right now, that's kind of how things are.
Yeah, so the question is, strategically, do we build our own Lease Matrix? And, you know, because we're going to roll it out and make it your product, make it something that, you know, that Newmark has, or do we, you know, in other words, what's the approach we should take from a customer standpoint? If it's not something that you guys want to make so proprietary that it's so unique to just your company, then we can approach it from a different angle. We can say, hey, let's go to the service provider and see if we can just do a bolt-on. Because if they do the updates and they let you provide input, so they provide updates and then because a lot of this information comes, I mean, I know where to get this information, just like you guys do, right? Maybe they do that already. They've scaled that business, and then it's just a data feed, and we just bring the data into the 3D app, and we put a little Lease Matrix logo on it and say, thank you very much. Now we have it all in 3D. It's a great viewer, and now we can go through with the rest of the functionality that we want in our app.
Right. I don't know if there's a need to reinvent the wheel if we already have something that's up to date with available data that unless you see some benefit to making it kind of unique proprietary application.
Well, it's like, do we want to build? Yeah, I mean, if they're not charging that much anyway for it, and they've already sunk all the cost in, it's almost better just to bundle it, and then we can make a decision if we want to build it ourselves later on anyway, right? We can just
exactly.
So maybe the first step is, and I'll do this, Lawrence. I mean, I'll do this in conjunction with you. I'll try to use a little company leverage. You and I, we can kind of go in and approach these guys. I think they're in Seattle, and say, hey, this is what we got. We'd like to bring your data in and feed this. And I'm sure they're going to go, that's easy. We have an API service. They must have an API service. And so let's integrate the two together, because I noticed that the buildings you provided, there's only when I say only, there's not that many buildings that we need to really feature in the app. I mean, there's not, in terms of there's you've got these active buildings you sent me on the spreadsheet, right?
Right.
So that's the general strategic question I want to ask. And it would be, I know Mark is really busy today because he's got some family stuff, but that's this strategy decision, Alex, that we're thinking about. Like, how do we approach this? Because this is essential. This kind of information is essential to bring into the 3D app. And it would be great to have these features here in our own window, feeding in our own window and making it part of our solution, because then we can start merging other entity data into this, like parcels and other property information that they don't even have that we can get, right? Like we're getting from DMP. But I noticed, and if we go to do you know Land Vision, Lawrence? You know that?
Say that again? Sorry, go ahead.
You know the product Land Vision for commercial real estate?
Yeah.
So that product, and Alex is playing catch up here because he's not aware of a lot of this outside analysis. So this product has these features, which, it has some of the stuff. It has client property matching and client database and contact management and lead management and property database. But it doesn't have this other stuff like listing management, flyer catalog printing, email marketing. It doesn't have the outbound functional sales features maybe that a real estate agent would want.
Right.
My question to you, Lawrence, is are these features the kind of features that endear you to the Land Vision type product overview? Because it's also, some of these things are also in our scope, and we'll get to the scope in a minute. But the property database you already have.
Right.
You've got that database. You just want to feed it in. The lead.
Right.
Do you want lead? I mean, are you going to put sales capabilities in this too? It's probably maybe down the road we want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Right. And I think the listing management is probably really important, getting the listing information, which I believe Lease Matrix provides. Right.
Right.
You probably have the listing, the landlord, then you can put in your proposals and so on. So my feeling is that looking at the overall features of some comparable products, Alex, we're trying to drill down on the total priorities and what users need, and that's where we're spending time with Lawrence. And the quid pro quo here is that we'll build this thing from kind of Lawrence's brain, and then once we get to a beta, then we'll go and run a test in Phoenix. So that's where we're at. And this is kind of the surveying that we've done and what we've been looking to understand better. And so we know there are certain things that our app has that nobody else has, which is really good 3D. That's the number one thing. And two, it's a good database management. So I'll just go over the scope here, and I'll go over it quickly, but I'll let Lawrence step in and go, yeah, you got it right, or you missed out, or whatever. And we'll go quickly. First of all, we talked about the GIS analyst requirements. You want to be able to upload real estate information, real estate files, and manage content. One of the things, Lawrence, that we've been able to do is go to the warehouse and upload 3D content quite easily. The Trimble warehouse. We found most of your buildings there.
Great.
So I would think that once we implement, we would just go pull down as many as we can and throw them all in there and give it some really a nice flavor for texturing, especially your buildings.
Right.
So the next challenge is, how do we build the floors into the buildings, right? That's the next challenge. And so maybe, Alex, you can talk about how we would put floor information into the related entity function. Can you comment?
Yeah, I can discuss the concepts that we're exploring at the moment.
Yeah. Now, do you want me to share the screen or?
No, it's all right. I think that's mainly talk rather than showing much. So there are two aspects of it. First is the 3D model, and the second aspect is the data associated with the object, right? So on the 3D model aspect of it, so we see it as a multi-detail level exercise. So first is, you see this block of 3D that stands on the ground on the map in this view, right? So that is a pretty much simplistic view, so you don't see the structure inside. So one way forward to the floors would be to split it to the layers, which represent the floors, right? And just to be able to indicate the layer right here, right in this view. And another approach is to take you out of this view and bring you to another view that is more detailed. So you kind of zoom into the building, you're losing the view of the map, but you're starting to see what's inside the building. So that's another conceptual way of approaching that. And we're currently exploring both. So we already have ability to load the detailed map of the building into the system and make it relatively smooth transition from looking at the map into the looking in the building, right? So from one to another. We employ some external tools for that. So like SAP Visual Enterprise Viewer is very good tool for looking in the detailed model, which also contains some data linkage. And another way is to look at it right here, right in this viewer, and split the model into the floors. So that would be the 3D aspect of that. And we do have a system of managing those 3D objects to the placed on the map already. And another one is the data aspect of it. So we keep the database association records with the objects that you touch in 3D, or it's the other way around. So we have 3D models that represent the records of data that we kept in the database. And we also have a concept of relatedness of objects. So as you build up your model structure, you're also building up your data structure by registering the related objects. And the structure is pretty much free we can do any structure you like. So it's pretty flexible in terms of what you can achieve. But for the building, it would be pretty logical to say that the building would contain floors and the floors would contain rooms, and you can go on with that. You can go room contain, I don't know, whiteboards or any other pieces for whatever the room's equipped with. So you can go as detailed as you want with this.
And Alex,
since,
yeah. I think what we'd want to do, just to kind of bridge the gap in terms of what we're discussing. So let's just say this is a property that, I think it is a property that you're leasing now, Lawrence.
Yeah.
So let's just say the first thing we do is we put on our pirate hat and we go grab the 3D model from the Trimble warehouse, which we've done, okay, and get to use the model license free, or in a favorable license environment. Then the next step would be, all right, now we've got all these floors here that we're looking at potentially leasing out. So when we click on the building, we need to have all those floors listed as separate entities. And then that floor data would end up bringing in this information from the floors to say, hey, this is the address of the building, this is the rentable area of the floor there, and then we would get more direct information on the space itself. So maybe we would drill down into more space in the separate buildings like that data is showing, and then be able to break up those information bits, so you could take those and then you could even update those. So not only are you adding floor data, but you're also now updating that data either in real time from like a service, like a lease matrix, or you're physically doing it. You got two choices. So that's kind of what the number one user feature is. Am I getting close here, Lawrence, in terms of what we're talking about?
Yeah.
The 3D to do?
Yeah, that's yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Another thing maybe would be to include something like a quick, maybe like a raster option if you maybe hover over it, or some sort of functionality that kind of shows like maybe the building outline with separate floors, like color coded, just as a quick visual. And then if if whoever is looking at the building wants to drill down further, they can get more detailed data from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So maybe Alex, we're talking about looking at Phoenix here and having a layer that says just available spaces, right? Available rental spaces. In this case, I mean, we have other layers here that came from the city that we're loading, which are, just GIS data that we get from the city. I'll turn one on, see if it comes up here. But that is essentially what we'd like to do, is identify all the buildings that are available leases. And then you can drill down to it. So if you're having a conversation with a client and you're asking about different locations and you want to be near the downtown area, you can basically zoom in here and say, these are the areas available, and click on a building, let's just say this particular structure, and actually go down and look at that structure, and then turn it on and look at the floor availability. Right now we have 2 levels of detail that we have in this building. We have a gray building, and then we have the actual 3-dimensional high resolution building. I'll just turn this on now. So then you'd be able to go down and talk about the drill down floors for this building. So you'd have these other buildings you're looking at, and then you would have the drill down for this building. And then you would access that information accordingly, and you'd go into what we were just talking about. So Alex, does that seem like a feasible function?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what you're describing is a scenario where you click on you select the object on the map, and you go to related objects that would have a list of floors. Each of those might have its own model to display, as well as 2D plans. So you could technically go drill into those and either see that slice of the building start to appear in the map, showing you which floor you selected, as well as you have attached material to that floor, such as plant, which you can open. We can pretty much open it wide on the full screen, so you get to see the floor map and everything. Yeah, so that's not very far from reality. I think we're pretty much capable of doing almost all of it today. Right?
So this would be maybe something, Lawrence, that we would here where we're just adding. I just added some entity data there, a floor. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So I think I think that functionality has been built in per your specs.
Okay.
The next thing is
great
to make it identifiable and understandable and easy to use. So.
Right.
Great.
Yeah, so the little addition to that would be to provide the 3D model of the floor, which can be derived from the building by slicing it on certain level, right? Yeah. And then to feed extra information into it. So once you have the floor selected, you could attach the documents related to the floor, such as plans or evacuation procedures or whatever is related. Right, as well as editing the data fields directly. And then once that data is fed, then we can do the queries on the data and select the floors which have available spaces or some rent price below or above certain value, whatever query criteria you would like to have. So that becomes possible once the data is in. Yep.
Okay.
So we made it.
Good. Excellent feedback, Alex. So Lawrence, I think from an engineering standpoint, we're able to check, we're checking the boxes, right? So we can make sure it's not all in perfect form yet, but it's pretty much, it's almost ready to go in the sense that now we're ready to build it. So just to backtrack, what Lawrence had provided to me was a spreadsheet of some critical buildings that he had wanted to focus on, and those buildings, I can find them real quick here, just to show you. And I did work on that, Lawrence. I did find a bunch of those buildings in the warehouse. Just I said, hey, let's see if we can, pretty much use these buildings to our benefit and feature those, because then they stand out. They're not the context, they're the actual buildings, right? So, Lawrence sent us a retail, key building Phoenix summary, which I'll turn on here real quickly, which are these buildings here. I just want to confirm. So, Alex, what I did is we took those buildings and we ran a search to see if they're available. There's kind of unique buildings below, and then the office buildings at the top. Lawrence, these are the buildings that you are leasing now, actively leasing and working and servicing, correct?
These, actually, the lease is a different spreadsheet. These are all the, unique and, points of interest in the city.
Okay, so those are the POIs, and then we've got the retail listing data.
We have office and retail listings. Yeah, one's right below the other.
Yeah, so Alex, the office is obviously business offices, and these are the actual listings. This is the the property name, and there's you guys are pretty busy.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stuff going on here. It's a little frozen here, but so this is all the data that Lawrence gave us, and so also the office listing data. So I started with the iconic buildings, Lawrence, just to make sure that we could prove the concept to bring them all.
Right.
And these are the actual offices that you're leasing, right?
Right.
And you've put together some information. You want to walk through the important data points here?
Yeah, so I think one area is submarkets, which I can provide, and as another layer to kind of include in the analysis features. But obviously, Class A, Class B buildings, whether or not, obviously the address and all the leasing data is in here.
Would you want a layer? Would you want a submarket layer where you can, like, you have a separate layer that we call it submarkets, and then call it Camelback Corridor, Central East Phoenix, Downtown, Midtown?
Right. Yeah, and I can give you, all that data. I don't know if, I could provide probably like shape files or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really helpful, because then we could layer that all in, and when we're giving the presentation to your management, it would show that we've got the mapping, that aggregate element that you wanted, that macro element that you're talking about. I think we wouldn't have a problem doing it. Mark will probably get mad at me because I'm going to make him do a bunch of work, but he loves to upload this stuff because when he's bringing in the data, we can find bugs. So, it's the way we do the development. I mean, like I said, you're in beta, so we're doing this together. Alex, following what we're heading into here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So let's get practical about it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about submarket layers. Then, so if we look at it, we've got Phoenix region. Then we've got the submarket. That'll be a layer. We call it a layer. You guys call it entities, but submarket group, let's just say. And then we have the buildings, and then we have the floors. Right?
Okay.
So we're talking region, submarkets, buildings, floors. And that's the groups. Did I cover everything, Lawrence?
Yeah.
Okay. So great. That's really helpful. I mean, I've looked at a lot of this stuff, Lawrence, but I didn't really dig into it. I wanted to have Alex here because now when we start to integrate, the senior engineer will be aware of this.
Right.
So.
And one other, thing to include would be the property subtype, the Class A or Class B building.
Yeah, and that would be, the subtype would be part of the building information, right?
Right.
Right. So the buildings would be subtype class, A or B.
Exactly.
Okay, great. What makes a building a Class A and a Class B for you?
The amenities.
Okay.
The nicer the building is Class A.
Like parking and spa and whatever.
Right. On-site amenities, whether it has, shopping or just the condition of the building itself.
Okay. So even at some point, the amenities list might be helpful to have as well. I mean, probably available. So that could be another relationship, amenities. Okay, great. We're really drilling down here, Alex, on it. We're not really working off the scope, but
yeah, that's great. It all makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, we
can even register those amenities. We can actually make a list, not just a superstitious kind of statement that there are any. Instead, we could actually list them out and then say, when you go to the building, we can actually tell you what amenities you expect to have.
Exactly.
For that building.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. Great. So we covered the data you provided with us, the office listing, the retail listing, the retail locations. These are big box stores. They're Starbucks. I don't know. All kinds of different business lines.
Exactly.
And these have their own relationship. They're also in a submarket, same submarket category.
They have their own. So the retail submarkets are going to be slightly different than the office submarket. So I'll have to give you different shape files for that. But
okay, but we do have our own retail submarket category.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the same features. As we move over, these are you guys are all over the place here. You're in Goodyear and Mesa, Yuma. And there's a lot of that's really spread.
Yeah.
So we'll try to focus on Phoenix first, just because we don't have a lot of 3D outside of Phoenix.
Okay.
But we will. We're going to have full coverage. It's going to be 2.5D. It just won't be full 3D.
Right.
So as we move to the other data things, it looks like rather than being the sub-market areas are the same as we discussed, and then the buildings are now they're not Class A and B, they're multi-tenant, owner-occupied. Or is that the tenant characteristic?
Right.
Building?
Exactly.
Okay. And then you've got these subtypes as well. So you got subtypes and then tenant types. So those would also be entity information that we would include, which is like, a strip mall or a freestanding building or a power source, utility building or whatever. When you say neighborhood, those are in the property subtype is in. You mean that's just a residential area?
Right. So the more you go neighborhood, and a power center is like got a bunch of big box stores, so it'd be like a town center or something like that. And then there's a strip mall, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes from the neighborhood level and on up from there.
Great. Okay. So I'll pour through this data, Alex, and I'll break out the the Phoenix stuff and focus on that and try to we won't put everything in there yet. We'll just put the Phoenix stuff in there so we can demo it. And then eventually we're going to have a citywide way of identifying that. So you can see, and this is really for Alex's consumption, what happens is the real estate offices all sort of collect their data differently. So Phoenix collects it all in an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe some other offices don't. Maybe they do it in some other way, but they all have their own data. It doesn't sound like you guys are subscribing to a data service, although I guess you do use CoStar data, right? Do you guys use CoStar?
Yes.
And how does that differentiate from this data that you get here?
It's not used as like a data culling service, if you will. It's kind of like just a supplemental service, if you will. And then the kind of this list is all broker supplied. So
what's more valuable? Is this list more valuable than the CoStar?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just writing this down. So Alex, in America, the industry, there's a giant company that provides this information, but they have a really kind of a strange business model. They have people like Lawrence give them the data and then they sell it back to people. So Lawrence would be supplying the data to the service provider, and the service provider then puts it into their system and then sells it back to everybody else. But what happens is there's problems there, because it's like Lawrence is saying, why should I give you all my data and then have you give it to a competitor down the street?
Yeah, right.
Am I correct, Lawrence?
Exactly.
Yeah. So really, even though CoStar is like this big monster company, publicly traded company with a $15 billion market cap, the whole real estate industry, they don't like them. So it's a weird situation. But in most of our cases, we won't be focusing on the CoStar data. We'll be focusing on the proprietary data that the companies have, that the individual offices have.
Is that the situation for the lack of tools or the lack of other systems to exchange the data and to make a common data schema and common data interchange, or is it by choice? And I'm just trying to understand the historical aspect of how did it come to that. So if we provide a tool that works for every office, would they be keen to use that kind of tool and get the data more or less schematically unified? So they would.
Right. I think if there is kind of a reason to to unify the data, they'll be on board with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, searchability and aggregation is one of the reasons you can.
No,
say, well,
I understand from this project it makes sense, but right now there is no no need to do that. So in the future, I think once this gets shown around, they'd probably be more apropos to or adaptable, have the adaptability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's sort of the commercial real estate industry has super proprietary data that is focused on the locale, the location that it's in the office. There are instances where, Lawrence will be asked to do a national search for like a Starbucks or something, saying we want to open up 75 more locations. So we need, Newmark to do it, right? Or they ask some other company, Cushman Wakefield or whatever. So you do have those large accounts that exist, but they're just, there isn't a product for that necessarily right now to do that. It's sort of just coddled together by the analysts and the service, the manager, the account manager. What I learned when working with, and I'm sure it's similar at Newmark, is that there's like 3 different levels. There's the giant enterprise business, which are these big rollouts where you do the full fitting and you do the whole rollout of the locations for like retail stores. And then there's the office market, which is more of the, local office tenant stuff. So there's like these tiers, and it's dysfunctional because it's all not integrated. Everybody does their own thing.
Right.
So people just grab Microsoft software and say, okay, let's do it with Microsoft, or let's grab Esri software and figure out a way to, let's just, let's use a hammer for a screwdriver, right? And just do it, right? As opposed to like this streamlined product approach. Now, I think for us, there's a marketing challenge to doing that too. It's not just building it. It's like, how do you even market that? And so what we're thinking of is we just want to build this for your company and make it work for your company. And at some point, your company might come back to us and say, oh, we want to keep all this proprietary. Or they might say, yeah, this is great. Now it's time to change the way we're doing it. Or we really like doing this service from you. Just put our label on it and make it ours. So we know that we're the best. So that's going to be a business development contract thing, Alex, that we decide. But right now, our whole focus is just, to make it work for Phoenix, right? Make it work for Phoenix and show the micro project, the micro success story, and from there, we'll then like reboot the business strategy and say, how do we go next? And that's what Lawrence, has agreed to do, is say, hey, if it works here, then we'll look at California, and we'll look at some other locations that we can approach after it works in one area. So, okay, good. Very helpful, Lawrence. I'm recording all this because I'm taking notes, but I'm also trying to get all this information through. So let's go over the PowerPoint real quick, and then we'll try to conclude this meeting and then regroup again, because I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. How are you for time right now, Lawrence?
I could spend a few more minutes here.
Okay, great. So we went through some user stories. This is the general information, just to summarize, that we got from Lawrence, that you provided us. Assessor info, public. This is all stuff you get from the cities in many cases, or from the MLS service providers. So this is also information that will be valuable in the app, and that we just want to create the environment to bring it in. And another thing is like the Esri offering business analyst information. That's kind of a unique thing that Esri offers, because I think they probably get it from like CoStar, not CoStar, from CoreLogic, but they get all that demographic data. Do you use that pretty extensively, Lawrence?
Yeah, right now that's pretty much the tool we use for all the demographic information.
Okay. So, so Alex, that Esri is just a giant mapping company that we're going to be running into all the time. That has this business analyst package that they sell with the ArcGIS license, and it gives you a ton of demographic data, all kinds of, even political data. I don't know. You could maybe describe it.
Yeah, I think it's built upon the census and then extrapolated from there, but it drills down everything from disposable income to I don't know household income to different population types and ages and all sorts of potential variables that they have in there, and you can do a lot of different functionality and analysis driven thematic mapping from it.
So what we want to try to do, Alex, what our goal is we don't want to be the analyst software. We don't want to be that software. That's Esri, and they're entrenched there. But what we want to do is allow GIS professionals like Lawrence to be able to accumulate that data, export the shapefiles, and then bring it into our app.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have that part of the roadmap. So there are two approaches to this. One is to bring the data in and make it saved in our system, and then you can display it or do whatever you want with it. And another one is stream the data from external sources, which is common. So that's going to be the next piece. There are two menu items in your window that's in that management console at the top that currently they highlighted. See, they just be dim at the left-hand side. So one of them is the data sources, and another one is data feeds. So the data sources is primarily the address here. So we could feed the data from the same census authorities and display it on the map, or make it merged with your data assets when you access them. So we already done a proof of concept work and some prototyping, feeding the data from our local New Zealand authorities, such as Land Information New Zealand and a number of city councils. We already did that. So we already have a sample where we feed in the road data, the land parcels data, etc., and display them on a map. So we're planning to re-enable this feature and make it configurable and make it approachable by administrators. So I think there's a very good chance that very soon you will be able to get the census data from United States authorities and just feed them in and make them the part of your data asset there. So that's a part of their roadmap. Pretty soon it's going to be there.
That's great, Lawrence. So Lawrence, what would happen is you would then decide what layers you want to bring in, right? So you might decide on whatever the Esri layers you have. We could feed it in here, and here you're looking at the entity layers. But more uniquely is that we can type the entities out. So you've got 3D models, you've got points, you've got other types of information, and we can customize it for you. So this is something that we'll probably do ourselves internally to build it out for the beta, but then you'll be able to do it. You'll have probably a day of training. You'll just be able to do it yourself. Okay.
Cool.
So that covers that, and let me move on. I know we're hitting on a lot of stuff. So on the user story side, these are the brokers. These are the guys that are the gladiators out there making the sales, and they use reports and activities and schedules and action plans and all kinds of stuff. They're the guys that pay for the beers for the client, and they're looking for proposal histories and bids made and trying to get all the intelligence they possibly can So that's the other layer of a user that we're going to have, that really Lawrence is going to have to sort of handhold. And eventually that's the second generation of use. After the analysts and the GIS professionals start to figure it all out, then the next one is the broker. To say, wow, I want to use this. I want to turn this on. The flexibility we have is that it's cloud-based, so we can do that. But the issue is, will the brokers be able to go in and do this kind of stuff, right? Will they be able to work the admin side? Maybe, maybe not, right? I mean, your gut feeling, Lawrence, is you think they'd be able to figure this out, or are they just not attention span driven like that?
They could, but dollars to donuts, probably not.
You know, like, is there a phone here? Can I put my suit on and meet someone over at
Right.
Phillies? You know, so they want to know if it works on their iPhone, probably, right? So,
Right, yeah.
and I don't want to diminish these people. They have a very specific role in terms of putting deals together and doing what they do, because they bring in the business. And so that's the broker story, Alex, just so you know who that individual is and who's using it. And these are the GIS analysts that we just talked about. We've covered all this with Lawrence already. And then what we've got available now, these are all the features that are available today, 1 through 12, which are all working really well. You know, there's been several upgrades, but it's all part of what's already there. And it's looking good. I think that number is going to increase significantly in the future. A lot of this is just core fundamental functionality that you need, Lawrence, to really run the app. And so, you know, any customer would need that. And it's looking pretty good. It looks like 3D objects, which have always been a huge challenge, are really easy to upload in multiple levels of detailed buildings, like we showed you. And you know, multiple map layers we're able to bring in. We can even add additional map layers if we want. So it's looking really good, and it's looking like it's going to be a reality sooner than we anticipate. So I think we're ahead of schedule, and I congratulate the Nextbase team for that effort. So that's the user features that are completed. And then what's happening in January, which is really happening now, are other things like additional data, KML formats, which I think we're doing already. Is that true, Alex? Number one, I think we're already doing that now, aren't we?
Import and view data KML. Yeah, absolutely, we do that. And then create share views between users. That's very, very near. We've already made the foundation at the back end. It's already supported in the management console. You can already create slides for the views. We're just about to implement it in the GCUI side, so you will be able to make it sort of the PowerPoint presentation kind of slides made of 3D views with whatever you put on them, and put the annotation node to it as well. So yeah, it's almost January that's going to happen.
Great.
Select, download entities uploaded by user. Yes, we have the first prototype working, and we currently have a team working on collating 3D models together to deliver that to you as a one single 3D model. So that's work in progress. And select, download building footprints. That's also work in progress. Mark has been asking about it yesterday, and yeah, we have someone working on that too. Yeah, so that's coming soon.
So Alex, I mean, that's number 4 is really so we can make sure we get you full coverage, right? So we, because you might want to go into Mesa and some other areas with this app. And so this would allow us to do some coverage until we build out the high resolution 3D cyber city buildings.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand the purpose of it, so that's no problem. As long as we have the building footprints available, that feature will be there, so we will have that.
Great.
2.5D.
Okay. So, and also now we're talking about the February stuff. The ability to set up and replay views. So are we? Can you kind of describe that, Alex?
Yeah, so the ability to set up replay views, so that's, you will be able to point your camera somewhere, find a good angle for you to see, do the selection of layers of what you want to display, like what you're showing right now, to see what's there. Put an annotation text somewhere at the bottom to say you're looking at such and such place, and just something to say. And then you can save that with a screenshot of this and give it a little name, so like view blah. And that would add to the collection of slides that you saved. Each slide would have its own unique URLs that you can send by email to someone or by messaging, so they can just click on it and get straight to that view. So that would be your replay of that view, just as you set it up. And you can go from one view to another. That would make it camera fly to transition smooth from one view to another, like a PowerPoint presentation. If you have a sequence of views, you would have that. So that's in short, that's an idea. And we already have half of that made, so it's coming very soon. Does it help?
Yeah. Does that clear? Are we clear on that, Lawrence?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then on the admin console, this is the things that they're building, the various admin features, just to make sure that we can physically do it all. March's plan is stacking the data into the 3D building display windows. That's going to be, really almost like that's almost like an industry killer, right? So we talked about this lease information. Once we get all that into the 3D visualization environment, there's nobody in the world that does that. So
Right.
that's when your company has the most unique product, and you've hopped over JLL, CBRE, and Cushman and Wakefield. So
Sweet.
that'll be when you hit a home run. That's when we can go to your president and get a big check.
Exactly.
So, okay, great. And then again, we talked about some of these other features that are available. These are just copies of the PowerPoint that we were going through before. I just saved them all at the end. What we're not going to be able to do is, I don't know about this. I think mobile devices have some limitations still. Can we talk about the mobile devices at all, Alex? Is there a way to work this on mobile, or is that just down the road later on in the year?
Yeah, in general, we do support mobile devices. So in principle, it all works on iPad, on the Safari or Chrome. We already tried on Android. It also, in principle, it works. So the limitation there is the resources that are available on device. Put some limit on how much you can actually do with that. So in general, it works. So if you go to the view, you click on the buildings appear. That's all fine. In general, it will work. There's sometimes we overload the device with too much we're trying to do. Like you enable too many different things. It tries to render them, but it's too much to fit into the memory of the device, so it starts crashing.
Yeah.
So what we're doing about it is we put some limits into how much is displayed at any time. So we have a tiling mechanism already enabled that is unloading the data as you move the camera away. Potentially we can perhaps recognize that we are working on a mobile device and limit the number of things that we bring onto the view. So with those limitations, it will work on mobile just as fine as it does on desktop.
Yeah, so I think, Lawrence, in terms of managing the expectations, I think we'd like to just say mobile is down the road, but we don't want all your brokers to go, gee, I can put it on my iPhone now.
Right.
That's obviously some challenges. The advanced spatial searching is also something that we're going to have to work on, and I'll have to talk to Mark about how he wants to approach that. And then as we talked about, the 2.5D data is we're getting ready to figure out how to deploy that, and that'll be something that we'll let you know as we have progress there. So some of the things we want to follow up on with you is, do we have all the user stories correct? Do you feel like we're covering everything now.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
Okay. And this here SOM, that's another customer. Sorry about that. That's an architect firm, but there's other features that may come up in terms of the time frame, and what about phone support, and are there other functional features that we talked about? Remember we were just going over those features, which are sort of the active sales features that we were talking about here. Like, do you want to have email marketing? Do you want to have calendar management? Do you want to have lead management in there? I just think that's got to be, something that we should think about pushing. Like, that whole workflow for sales is a whole different category of functionality.
Right.
So you don't want to be everything. That's the last thing you want to do, is be everything, because then you restrict your development, and from a business standpoint, you start confusing your message. So we're just sort of not going to really be pushing a lot of that stuff going forward, but we do want to pull the stuff that is essential for you. So,
right.
So as as you think about these other functional features, just pop them in an email, send them to us, let me know, because on stuff like RFQs and stuff like that, there might be features that we need to add. So just let us know and keep us in the loop on that. I think we've really accomplished a lot in terms of managing the digital Dropbox, we like to call it, and the basic functionality. And so I think what we're going to do is I'm going to regroup with my notes here. I'm going to put a call into the lease matrix company just to find out how they think about feeding data in for us, to see if that's an option. And then what I'd like to do is send you a demo and have you start playing around and test driving a little bit. So that'll be the next plan, is to get it in your hands so you can start playing with it.
All right, sounds good.
Guys, okay, Alex, I think we're good. Mark let me know that he won't be able to make the call. I think we figured that out by now. So I think we're good. You guys have a great Christmas, and I will.
You too.
I'll document all this stuff, and you feel like we're moving forward on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That looks great. Thank you, Kevin, for doing it. And yeah, I wish you the Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well. So
I appreciate that very much. And Lawrence, are you confident that we're taking forward steps here?
Yeah, absolutely. Looks good.
We're getting it done. All right, guys. Have a great Christmas.
You too.
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.